Mike DeCourcy from the Sporting News and Big Ten Network joining us as always. Before we get to the rest of the tournament, because there is plenty to talk about, the Big Ten continues to have a little bit of success in the national tournament. Michigan State, probably not a team that would have been expected to be the one left standing right now, is the one left standing. But again, the Big Ten is with all the teams in, only one team left. Why is that? I mean, this is going on year after year.
Look, people love to bash the Big Ten. It's like,
I'm not bashing. I'm just asking.
I know. I'm just saying, like, why do they only have one team left? Because they were supposed to only have two. That's all. Like, that's the simplest part of it. Is like, okay, if Indiana and Purdue were both alive today, okay, and there had been any upsets and Michigan State had gone home like they were supposed to, let's just say that Indiana and Purdue were alive, this conversation would still be happening.
Yep.
100%, because they lost 6 of the 8 teams, even though they were supposed to lose them all.
Right.
It's just like the thing that I love March, but what drives me crazy about March is how many people, like, I want people in the tent, you know what I mean? I want people to turn it on, and I want people to watch, and I want people to read if they're so inclined. But all the people who don't follow this sport or cover it, who think they know it, and it's their right to come in and tell you about what happened and how that drives me crazy. Like, you're not here for 3.5 months and you're going to come in and tell me that Matt Painter can't coach, or that the Big Ten's a bad league, or that so-and-so choked, or whatever. It's ridiculous. You don't follow it. You don't know it. Matt Painter is a perfect example of this, okay? They were a number 1 seed. They shouldn't lose as a number 1 seed. Don't get me wrong. They shouldn't lose as a year ago as a 3, I think they were, whatever it was, to 15. They shouldn't. Don't get me wrong. Those were not great performances. And I think that Matt needs to look at, okay, why is this happening? I'm sure he does, but I think that it's fair to ask, why is this happening? But to say he's anything less than an elite coach is to not understand the sport. I looked this up the other day. I wanted to see, okay, who do the Boilers have coming in next year as prospects for next year's team? There's a good chance they're going to have a bunch of guys back. I've heard a lot that Zach Edey will be back. My understanding is he didn't want to deal with the question after the FDU game.
I expected him to come back.
Yeah, a lot of people that I've spoken to who know the program well expect him back. But so I they're looking just to see, okay, well, what are they going to have in addition to whoever comes back? What are they going to have next year? And I was looking at their commitment page on 24/7 Sports, and for every school out there, they have rated the greatest recruits of each program: UCLA, Kentucky, whoever. Okay. And it's according to their own rating system, the number they assign to them, et cetera. Purdue's had 1 5-star player since 24/7 started doing this. It's about 2 decades. 1 5-star player. That's all. And yet they keep turning out 5-star teams. People don't understand. Purdue is an outstanding program, but it's not the first choice for a lot of young basketball players. If you grow up in the state of Indiana and you want to stay in state, what's the typical first choice? If you grew up in an adjacent state, Michigan, oh, okay, they got a few. Ohio, oh wow, okay. Illinois, yeah. I mean, so like it's not easy to recruit to Purdue because of that, because of where you're located. So you have to be creative, and you have to be a great scout, and you have to improve players and all that. And all that happens there. And they win the Big Ten championship, and they get high tournament seeds. And lately they have not done as well with them as they should. But the idea that all these people know now that he's not a very good coach because they turned in and watched one game, I have to say it's the one thing that makes March less than wonderful for me. Every other aspect of this month puts me over the top. It's a legal drug, so to speak.
Right.
But that one is the ultimate downer.
And what's always surprising to me, Mike, when we get to this point in the season, is that whether it's a fan or of Purdue or of another team, and people want to start firing coaches and finding the next guy, there's no guarantee that the next guy's going to come in and do anything different. Your program could look at what happened to Indiana after they switched. And I'm not saying Tom Crean should have continued to be the head coach at Indiana. I'm not in that business. Don't care. Not my decision. But look at the drop-off. Tom Crean was winning Big Ten championships, getting them into the NCAA tournament. And what happened under Archie Miller? All of it went away. There's no guarantee that was thought to be a slam dunk hire.
Yeah, I thought Archie would have trouble with the politician aspects of the job, so to speak.
Sure.
And to an extent he did, but I thought that from a basketball standpoint, it was a perfect hire. And from the standpoint of getting in the players in the state that they weren't getting during Tom's tenure. That was the one aspect of Tom that you could criticize, that they weren't getting those guys any longer at IU. He was still going out and getting Thomas Bryant and other players, but the flow of talent from the state had stopped going in that direction. But
he ran
Archie
a foul.
came in and got those guys.
He ran a foul with the Indiana high school coaches, pretty much.
Well, but that's but that was the problem. But that's
big problem.
But
big
Arch
problem.
fixed it. What I'm saying is Arch fixed it, and it still didn't work. I mean, they got Trey, and they got Trey.
We'll wait for Mike's connection to recruit. Yeah, the one thing I will disagree with is he got guys that wanted to come to IU first before they wanted to play for Archie. We lost you for a second there.
Yeah. Indiana fans wanted those kids to start coming back to IU,
absolutely.
and they did.
Absolutely. That they wanted them. They wanted kind of what Purdue has. Purdue has a solid team that is built on nothing but Indiana kids. I mean, Indiana kids are probably 80% of that roster. There's maybe 10 to 20% on Indiana's roster. They're, Trey Galloway, Trace Jackson Davis, and Anthony Leal. Are those
Right.
the only three, I think, scholarship players on Indiana's team from Indiana? I think.
I'd have to look.
Yeah, I'd have to look at that as well. But but my point is that sometimes you make the right hire and it still doesn't work. And the part of this that I don't understand is the need for retribution, so to speak. You lost this game, so you must pay. Not you lost this game. Can you do better next time? And that's been a problem at Kentucky, and I wrote about it in the middle of the year when the one fan. Kentucky fans can't say this didn't happen because we all saw it. One Kentucky fan held up a sign that said, "Please go to Texas." So so that person was not necessarily alone in their viewpoint. But the point is that
probably escorted out of Rupp Arena.
He was. But Kentucky has the #1 recruiting class in the country coming in.
They did that for 9 out of 10 years and won one title.
And made 4 Final Fours. Do you not want to be in the Final Four again?
Yeah,
exactly.
I
Thank you, Mike.
My point is that you're saying that we're so mad that you lost a year ago to a 15 seed that we don't care, like that you are going to bring in the best group of prospects in the country next year. We just want you to pay. That's the logic.
Well, I think it's also with Calipari is that they know that doesn't matter how much talent he has. He is, in my opinion, not the greatest coach. So,
how did he win all those games?
Manager.
How is he one of only 3 coaches who's been to Final Fours at 3 different schools? It just happened by accident?
The players, he out recruits people. Not out recruits them, but
there's never been a team that had great prospects that wasn't any good at all.
That's not my point. I just don't think that he has done. He does more. He does less with more.
That's not factual.
And to this point again, remember when Kentucky wanted to move? I don't remember who the coach was beforehand, and they hired Billy Gillispie, who was really hot out of Texas A&M. Look at what happened.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I don't understand why people get into the March. Look, I love it, but it's also a crapshoot. It's all about matchups. You're trying to define a coaching tenure, a season by one game.
Right.
Purdue's going to go down in history because they lost a 16-1. But a lot of people are going to look back on this season and say Purdue overachieved because they won a Big Ten championship. They won the Big Ten tournament. That was just the second time they've done that. I understand this isn't going to be a banner year for Kentucky, but when you look at what John Calipari, you're constantly in the SEC hunt. You're always in the NCAA tournament. You're always a threat to be in the Final Four. Do you not want that? You could hire 3 new coaches, and for 10 years, you could be sub 500. There are no guarantees. That's what I don't understand, why people think the next coach is automatically going to take the program to new heights and win national championships. It doesn't matter whether it's Kentucky, Purdue, Indiana. It doesn't matter. That mindset is just, it's crazy to me. And it's not just basketball, but I feel like you get that more with March because people have higher expectations in March.
I think you're right. I think the suddenness of March makes it happen more often.
I agree with that 100%.
But I do think that the idea of firing successful coaches is who are solid citizens, I should say, is ridiculous to me. And I have this argument all the time with Steelers fans. They've never had a losing season under their current coach. They've played in 2 Super Bowls, won one of them, as well as another AFC Championship game. You don't get rid of that. It's just smart programs don't. The ones that do are the ones that are always trying to climb back to that level. Oh, I wish we could be back in the playoffs. Well, yeah, but you're the one that said it wasn't good enough. I just thought that the way people reacted to Painter's to the Purdue's performance in Columbus was rather ridiculous.
I agree with you, because I agree with that they were. What was the word you used?
I think it was Dustin said overachieving. Yeah, and they did.
Because I agree with that, because they did overachieve with those freshman guards.
Yes,
and you knew that they were going to take punches in the gut. I didn't think it was going to come in the first round of the NCAA tournament, which makes it really embarrassing. But Matt Painter is not going anywhere. He does not deserve to go anywhere. He is a lifer. He is going to be there as long as he wants to be, and he should be, because he does it the right way. The players love playing for him. The fans love what they have. They have a great environment. They've got it going on. But we didn't get to talk about the tournament. Gee whiz.
We did, really. We just didn't talk about these next group of games. Well, I think we covered a lot of what makes the tournament the tournament.
Yeah.
Florida Atlantic, they got a shot against Tennessee.
Yeah, I think. I think some of it comes down to how the game is called, Jim, because the Tennessee Duke game was called exactly as Tennessee would have wanted it to be. One of the interesting things about Tennessee ranked, I think, 22nd. Tennessee opponents ranked 22nd in terms of the number of their points that were generated at the foul line. So if they fouled a lot, they got called a lot, they allowed a lot of free throws, and they still won. That's the way it went. And then on Saturday, when they played Duke, they were called for 11 fouls in the entire game. That's not what happened. That's not, and I will tell you, that's not what's happened all through this tournament. It has been much too physical, much too. I saw a cutter bumped as hard in the Kentucky-Kansas State game as I've seen in 30 years. I hadn't seen something like that since I covered the Cincinnati Bearcats, who were among the pioneers of the art of bumping cutters. and I saw that, and I'm like, wow. I hadn't seen it since Jermaine Tate chucked I can't remember the Murray kid's first name who played for Louisville, but he was going through the lane, and Jermaine laid him out like he was a pulling guard and coming up on a free safety. And I saw a hit like that in Sunday's game, and nothing was called. I heard a stat yesterday. I'll give Dallin Cuff from ESPN Radio credit for this. 75% of the first 2 rounds on this bracket, 75% went under the Vegas total. That's bad. That's not supposed to be what's happening. And it wasn't because guys couldn't make baskets. It's because they weren't free to make baskets.
Yeah.
The NCAA has to do better with how they instruct the officials to call these games.
That could go on. That's a discussion that could go on all day right there. Mike, what is up next for you in the middle of this madness?
I'm headed to Louisville on Thursday. I'll be covering the South region with Creighton and Alabama and Princeton and San Diego State. All the people that you would expect to be in Louisville, right?
Yeah, that looks like a tough run for Alabama there.
Yeah, when I saw the bracket, I wrote that night, that Sunday night, that it was as easy a bracket as could have been imagined. But even at that, I didn't expect necessarily that they would have cleared out numbers 2, 3, and 4, and that they'd be facing numbers 15, 7, and 5 instead.
Yeah. Crazy.